I always start out by telling them how nervous I get when I get up here. And I remind myself of the man that was ushering, and he saw a big fat lady headed for the row of seats that was reserved. He ran up to her and said, "Mark me, madam, but these pies are awfully cute. May I sew you to another sheet?" She's talking about me being old. I'll be 88 in December, but it's all right to be that old and you feel like you're 65.
Amen.
Have you noticed that the steps are getting so steep anymore? They're making them so much steeper than they used to. And the groceries are getting so heavy you can hardly get to the car with them. And I took a walk down the block the other day, and I was shocked to see how much farther those blocks were than they used to be. And the manufacturers have started putting labels of 10 and 12 dresses on the 18s and 20s. I went to town last week to buy a new dress, and I tried one on, and they made them so much smaller that I looked like I was melted and poured in. I thought they was going to have to cut it off. I noticed that people are looking older, even people that's younger than I am. I met a lady that I hadn't seen for a few months, and she had aged so much till she didn't even recognize me. The next morning I was thinking about her and was brushing my hair, and I thought, that's awful, her looking so old. And I got a glimpse of myself in the mirror. Well, they don't even make mirrors like they used to. And the young people are so insensitive. And when you talk to them, they just talk to you in whispers. And you tell them to speak up, and they whisper it over and over and over again. I got these wrote down here, but I can't read them. And even the telephone companies, I thought about calling and complaining about things to someone's in authority, but the telephone companies have made the print so small that you can't even read it. Someone's going to have to do something about these things, or we're all going to have to go through this indignity. I heard of a man and woman that was going on vacation, and they had went to Florida on a vacation 20 years before that, and they decided to go down there to get where it was a little warmer. And they couldn't get off from work at the same time, so the man went ahead, and the woman come the next day. But when he got there, he noticed there was a computer in the room, so he decided to write his wife a note. And she was going down the next day. But he forgot and left a letter out somehow. And you that write emails know what I'm talking about. I don't have one, so I don't know. But he left a letter out, and instead of it going to Wisconsin, it went to Houston. And it went to a home of a widow woman that had just got home from her husband's funeral. It was a preacher and had had a heart attack. And when she come in, she thought, well, I'll read my email. And she thought she might have a word from a friend or family. And she read it, and when she read the first letter, she screamed and passed out. And her son come running in to see what was wrong and found her in the floor, but said the computer was still, the screen was still lit up, so he read, "My darling wife, I arrived safely, and I've already been checked in, and I noticed that they have prepared for your coming tomorrow."
Oh, gosh.
And I sure will be glad to see you. P.S. It sure is hot down there. Said there was a man and his family come from out of the mountains, and he had never been to the mall before. And they went to the mall and they were so excited. They saw so many new things. And they said, he told his wife, said, "You and the daughter go do your shopping. I'm going to look around." So he took his son and they was looking around. He came to two big silver doors. They slid open and then slid back. And he saw that little room. It's about a 4 by 5 and no windows in it. And he thought, well, why would anyone want to go in there? So he thought he'd just stand back and watch. And there was some old lady rolled up in a wheelchair and pressed a button, and those doors slid open. And she went in. And he said, well, I wonder what she's going in there for. And noticed on the top of the doors where the lights, the numbers were lit up, and it went 2, 3, 4, 5, and then backward, 4, 3, 2, 1. And he expected to see her wheel out. Instead of her coming, it was a gorgeous 25-year-old blonde. She walked out. He punched his son's, without taking his eyes off of her, he punched his son, said, "Quick, son, go get your mama." Frank and Martha go on vacation every year. This year, they went and they saw a big crowd, and they stopped. She said, "Park the car and let's walk down and see what it's all about." So they went down where they were, and there was a helicopter down there, and the pilot, and he said, "Oh, Martha, I always wanted to go up in a helicopter." Said, "Could I go?" And she said, "No, Frank, it's $50. He said, "Well, $50 is not much." Said, "I've always wanted to go, and this might be my last chance." And she said, "No, Frank, $50 is $50. So the pilot heard him. He come over and to her, and he said, "I heard y'all talking." Said, "I tell you what, if you'll promise me that you won't say a word, you won't scream, you won't say anything, I'll take you up for nothing. But if you do holler, scream, or say anything, I'm gonna charge you $50. So they went up, and he did all kind of stunts, everything you could think of, even rode the helicopter upside down. And he come down and he came over to Frank and he said, "Well," said, "you surprised me, but," he said, "I was shocked." Said, "I was sure you would say something." He said, "Well, tell you the truth, I started to when Martha fell out, but $50 is $50. Some lady come to the preacher and said she wanted him to pray for her son. Said he's come home to live and he's in a lot of trouble. And he said, "Well, bring him to church and I'll see what I can do." So she asked him to church, and she was surprised that he accepted. So he went to church and he preached a good sermon. After his sermon, he gave an altar call. He said, "If you need anything at all from God, well, let's pray for you, and the Lord was able to give it to you. So he came up for prayer, and he went to him and said, what do you want, son? He said, I want you to pray for my hearing. So he laid hands on his ears and prayed for him. The next day, he saw him in town. He said, Bubba, how is your hearing? He said, oh, I don't know. It won't come up till Wednesday. The preacher said he told the people that he was putting a mailbox on the outside of his study door. And he said, I want you to put, if you have any complaints, put them in that box and I'll see what I can do about it. So the next morning, he got to the office and he opened his mail, and there was two letters of complaint. And then there was one blank sheet of paper with one word wrote on it, fool, in big letters, just wrote fool. And so when he got up to preach, he said, well, I got 2 complaints this morning, but you failed to sign your name. This other guy, he just signed his name and forgot to put the complaint. Let me tell you about my doctor. He's got an answer for everything. I told him something the other day. He told me what was wrong with me, and I told him I'd like to have a second opinion. So he went out and come back in again. And this woman come in and said, Doctor, there's a boy out there that thinks he's invisible. He said, well, tell him I can't see him. Said, there's one out there who thinks he's a deck of cards. He said, well, tell him to be seated and I'll deal with him later. And there's one come in, mother come in and said, Doctor, come quick. Said, my son has swallowed a roll of film. And he said, well, don't worry about it. Take him home, wait a few days, and we'll see what develops. One man said he had a ringing in his ears. And he said, well, don't answer it. One woman said, I broke my leg in 2 places. He said, well, don't go to them places anymore. It takes a month and a half to get an appointment to see the doctor. When you do, well, he says, oh, this is bad. You should have come earlier. Thank you.